joined Zero to Pitch or Zero to Pitch Gold, there is a QR code to my, that's my right, which means this is to my left. To my left, and you just scan that code and you'll be asked some questions and you can join Zero to Pitch Gold. Actually, that is the paid site. All of $150 a month, massive bargain, $21,000 of value for all of $150 a month. So all you have to do if you have a question for me is just put it in the chat box on either Zoom or YouTube, and we will get started. So let's do that. And I'm going to go look at my questions too. Let's see what the questions are that we have already. So while I wait for those questions to form, there we go. There we go. Okay, so excellent. Okay. All right. Okay, there we are. And the question starts with sir, which makes me feel very old. So you can just say, hey, Brett, or hey, you, or something. But sir, man, that just, I prefer not to be sir. And anyways, it's all in, I appreciate it, but let's read the question. When you mentioned that we should aim to capture at least 10 to 20% market share and ideally up to 50%, were you referring to a share of the total addressable market or the serviceable obtainable market, the serviceable addressable market? Great question. Okay. Okay, so a primer on served available market, total available market first. Let's go through some definitions so we can kind of understand what we're talking about. Served available market, that is the market that we're going after today. So that's where we are today. Total available market, that's the future. That's our vision. So served is today, total's the vision. Now, what this person is asking about is I've made comments, which he is absolutely 100% correct, saying, hey, your goal is to get at least 10 to 20% share. So why is this important? There's a really good reason why. So the reason is if we aim for 1 or 2% or something like that share of a market, we're not relevant. And our product probably isn't going to do very well. And if you tell, this is, by the way, a classic thing, you show a big market number, say, oh, our market is $1 trillion in size. I see this one all the time. And from an investor perspective, and all we need to do to be successful is all we need is just 1% of the market, right? And then investors look at that and they go, not going to work. And the reason is, again, because you're not relevant. So what's the antidote to this? Niche down. Keep dividing your market down until you get to a relevant number. What's relevance? My goal is always to be at least second in any market that I'm in. If I'm addressing a market, I want to be at least the number 2 guy, ideally the number 1 guy. So how do I do that? Or how should you do it? You niche down. You keep breaking down the segment until you're relevant to a group of people. I don't care how small it is. Because at the beginning, you know, we could have all these dreams of building $1 billion revenue company. But I will tell you from experience, getting the first customer is really hard. Getting to $1 million is really hard. So adjust your focus. Adjust what you do so that you're focused on a small niche at the beginning and then build your niches bigger and bigger and bigger over time. So I hope that answers your question, because this is how you should think about things. And then it doesn't matter whether it's served or total market, because either way, as your market grows, your products grow, your distribution channels grow, you can address more customers as you do this, but you still have to be relevant. And again, relevance is being second, ideally first, in whatever niche we go after. So I hope that helps. Okay, I got an I understand, which I like. So very good. Okay, second question. By the way, this is an incentive for all the YouTube watchers. The best, you get your questions answered first if you're part of the Zero to Pitch audience already. So you can get all your questions answered first by being part of that. So I'm going to always answer the Zero to Pitch questions first. And if I have time, I will answer the YouTube questions second. Next question. Can a founder still raise good funding and build a valuable company by creating a copy or a local version of an existing global brand? For example, in Pakistan, I'm guessing that's where you are, is in Pakistan, an entrepreneur built a Food Panda-like startup when Food Panda hadn't entered the market yet, and later sold to Food Panda for $50 million. Is this kind of approach still valid and fundable? Well, I think it's absolutely still valid. And I think that's really step one when we think about things is what's the right business plan for what we're trying to do? What's the right strategy for what we're trying to do? And if it makes sense for you, if you're in Pakistan, as you apparently are, and in Pakistan, a certain thing doesn't exist, and we think we can go after that. And there are all sorts of examples of these types of things all over the world, of various versions of things that might be here in the United States that maybe don't exist in other countries. Somebody else does it and makes and personalizes it for that region. Sure, that will work. Absolutely. Now, the second question of is it fundable? That is an I don't know question because it's very specific to what you're doing and what investors want. And there's always a way to fund things. It may not be, for example, when I hear fundable, and maybe it's just because I've been involved in venture capital for so long and around that world for so long, I always think, well, is it venture fundable? But look, most startups are never funded by venture capital. Never, ever, ever. So there are plenty of other funding mechanisms out there beyond venture capital. There's, if we can kind of go through a list here very quickly, there's your friends, there's your family, there are angel investors, there's your rich uncle, those types of people. There's also the bank can fund, and there are all sorts of different banking mechanisms out there. That's how most companies get funded, is some combination of these things. So sure. And if you have a great idea and you think, hey, I can go do it in my region, go for it. I think that's great. So I hope that answers. Next question. Just going to adjust something here on my screen. Excuse me. Let's go to the next question. What's the best way to cold outreach on LinkedIn? I've developed a good enough profile that big founders are accepting the connect requests, but I feel lack in the first message. Okay, well, this is fairly broad. So the best way to outreach to people, you have an ability to message people on LinkedIn. If you, LinkedIn, if I remember right, they have different levels. There's a free level, and then they have various paid levels. And with the various paid levels, you have the ability to message people. So my feeling would be, for what it's worth, is I would do the paid membership, because now suddenly you can message people. When you message people, you get right in their inbox. And then it's just a matter of how do you craft a message that's going to work? That's the next question. So when we think about this, and I've done videos on this as well that you can find on my YouTube channel on how to do this. And I also did a free training on this, about 2 months ago. I think I did a free training on this as well. And I'll probably, I don't know when I'll do that free training again, probably in another 6 months or something. But anyways, there are ways to do this. The basic answer here is, first, you have to identify the right person to go talk to. Then the second thing you have to do with all of these types of things is you have to get right to the point, right? And you can't oversell. There's a balance in this, because if you think about it, they don't know you. And if you try and oversell too quickly, and I get these all the time from people emailing me this way incorrectly, messaging me this way on LinkedIn and other things this way incorrectly. And immediately you get very much defensive because people are asking for too much. So there's a whole combination of issues here that you want to avoid. You want to keep it simple. You want to keep it to the point. You don't want to oversell, and you don't want to make the ask too big. So what makes the ask too big? Asking for a meeting. And you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm supposed to ask for a meeting. Well, yes and no, but put yourself on the other side of this. I don't know you. You send something to me and say, all I need is 15 minutes of your time. Nobody ever needs 15 minutes of time. It's 15 minutes turns into 30 minutes, turns into an hour. And before you know it, you've blown an hour of your day. So you have to think about the other side of this really well. So think hard, about doing this, because the answer to this is, on the flip side, is maybe the ask should be instead of saying, hey, I want a meeting, ask the person what are the next steps. If they're interested, they'll tell you. If not, okay, time to move on to the next thing. All right, so let's go to our next question. I want to ask you something related to founder market fit. Okay, I'm a Muslim man with a beard, and I'm starting a cosmetics brand. I want to ask you something related to founder market fit. Okay, I'm a Muslim man with a beard, and I'm starting a cosmetics brand. Do you think this could be seen as unusual or concerning to investors? Honestly, I used to be very shy around women, and it felt nearly impossible for me to imagine entering this. But when I deeply reflected on myself, I realized I could do anything. And if I fully understood my customers, I put in the hard work. Well, you know what? Be yourself. That's my answer. And the right investors will not care. And since you are in a part of the world where I think probably the way you look, my guess is probably pretty normal, then you'll be fine, would be my guess. So, personally, just really fast, and you have to be able to say things really quickly as well. It doesn't mean speak fast, but it means you have to get right to the point when you're talking to people. Now, I will tell you that would not be my strong suit if it was else that works for you. But if you're going to go, then it seems to me that the way to be successful with these is you have to be aggressive. You have to kind of have a strategy, be aggressive, and go after it. And that's the way you're going to get the most out of it. Okay, if you have questions for me, you can put them in the chat box if you're watching on YouTube. You can put them in the chat box if you're watching on Zoom. Does not matter. I will answer them. The Zoom people get the priority because they're part of my Zero to Pitch community. If you are interested in taking it up a level and you're watching on YouTube or Zoom, doesn't matter, and you want to get up a level, you really want to raise money, you really want to grow your business faster, then join my community, my paid community for startup CEOs, Zero to Pitch Gold, on my left shoulder, right there. Anyways,